All right, welcome back everybody. This week is going to be an absolute classic rock staple. This is Roadhouse Blues by The Doors. This is just a great rockin' jam in E. In my opinion, it's fun for guitar players of all level. If you're a beginner, this is a great one to work up. If you're intermediate or even advanced, it's still fun. It's so cool. And of course you know that because you tuned into this video, duh. So I'm going to take you through all of Robbie Krieger's great sort of rhythm playing throughout this. Obviously the key riff that's in here, and we'll nail that guitar solo on here too. If this is the kind of thing that you like and you haven't done so yet, I invite you to jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell lets you know when I drop new content, which I do every single week. All my lessons have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I appreciate that. There's thanks, just like throwing a tip in the tip jar, or even better, join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the lessons that I do on YouTube. Links in the description, so check it out. All right, so this one's gonna be fun. This is late 60s. I think this was released in 70, but I was reading on the interwebs that they had this song sort of worked up a lot earlier, or a year or two earlier, that they were jamming on it. Anyway, fun fact while I was browsing the interwebs around this song, do you know who played harmonica on this song? 3, 2, 1. John Sebastian. John Sebastian from Lovin' Spoonful played harmonica on this tune. And bass was Lonnie Mack. So, the more you know. So, in terms of tone, you know, Robbie loved his SG. And I don't know if he, on the record, if it was his P90 SG or if it was his humbucker SG, but I just happen to have a 1968 Gibson SG Special with these glorious P90s in them, and so I'm going with that. So his tone for me sounds very much like it's on the neck pickup. So I'm up there. I've rolled my tone back just a little bit, screaming all the way on the volume, and all details on my signal chain will be in the description below, but I basically just have a little bit of a signal push into a 212 Fender Bassman here, and I've got that at 10, it's all the way up at like 6 or 7, so I'm getting amp overdrive on here, and it's being attenuated by my Fryette power station. So you sort of don't want, if you want to sound like the record anyway, there's still a lot of clarity to the note. It's not like this screaming chainsaw distortion or anything, even though the vibe of it sort of, you know, wants to go that way. But there's still a good amount of clarity to the note on there. So that's what I got. All right, so let's talk about the riff. So the opening riff, everything is sort of based around E for most of the song. So the sort of chug-along jam and the riff that he's doing is all based around an E chord. And it's usually around the first position E chord or E7 chord down here, or as we'll see, also up here. Okay, so the opening riff, it's just your 6th string chugging along. Key thing on this, if this is new to you, is you really want to be good with your muting, your string muting. If you don't mute the string at all, you're going to hear something like this. Which we know it's not that, right? It's a stop. And the way that I'm doing it is with my right hand. I'm using my pick and I'm hitting it with the meat of my thumb. Down, up, down, up, down. And it's every downstroke that I'm doing the mute. Right? Then the second part of the riff is going to complete sort of the other key notes in the E chord. It's going to slide up on your A string. It's just sort of sliding up 0, 1 to 2. And then we're going to do the same thing on our D string, 0, 1 to 2. And what I notice how he's playing this riff is he's not very clean about, it's not like a very prescripted hammer on. It's more just sliding into it, and it's sort of like it suggests that first fret. You know, you sort of glide over it. almost like a slide. So right? In the beginning, he sort of alternates between the A string and the D string like that. And once he sort of gets into the song more, you'll notice, and you'll notice if you click on this later on, this is the isolated guitar track from that song, where you just hear Robbie's guitar part. And you'll notice that he plays the D string part a lot more. He leans on that. A lot more. And he sprinkles in the A string every once in a while, but I just thought that was interesting. It's not always the even fifth string, fourth string. Fifth string, fourth string is what I always thought it was, but very cool. It's very much more loose. So that's one way you can play it, right there on first position. Right, slowly. There's another way you can play it that I've done too, that's kind of fun, is up here on the sixth string. Everything is on the sixth string and the fifth string. So instead of moving to your A string, you can play it here. And the second part, you can play it here on your fifth string. Fifth to seventh fret. Right? Kind of fun. Sometimes I think it sounds like it's that more than the open. But whatever. Doesn't matter. Just mix and match. So that's the riff. So that'll go chugging around. And there's a little break to it where he jumps up and does this up on the G string. Right? Slowly. And in context. Right? And the clues you into the second part of the verse. When you listen to that track, he's very much hitting every one of those notes pretty cleanly. I always thought it was every time like two strings together, and it's really not a lot of the time. It's really, he really just goes for that single note. Right? But this song rocks. Play it loose, whatever feels good to you. But that's where he's doing that riff. And then the turnaround at the end of it, that's sort of matching what Jim's vocal is doing at the end of it. Right? So let's do that one more time. That's how it closes out that first verse. Now he adjusts what he plays on the second verse. It's going to change the energy, right? And he's going to hit this great big E7 chord, E dominant 7. And I believe it's that position. Because I think I hear that, a little bit of that E string ringing out in unison. Sounds more like it than this, to my ear. And in between every one of those stabs, he's doing this very light. Right? He's just sort of sneaking into it. Another way to sort of change the energy, support the vocal, not step on it. But same sort of thing. Right? Does the same thing. And then finishes it off the same way. love that jam there. There's also one spot where he actually alters that, and I think it's right there. It's going into that last closing out the verse, where he actually goes down a little bit. So it's like this. He does that little on the way down. I caught that when I listened to the track. That's a nice little variation there, but like I said, ends that the same. There you go. Then we're going to go to our 4 chord, our A. Just a boogie woogie on first position, A. And again, he's just really hitting single notes as far as I could tell. It's not so much this. It's more. Right? You know, it's just trying not to overlap too many of the 2 strings together. You know, when you're playing it live, like, sort of who cares, right? But like, just trying to hear what he's doing and the clarity of it is very cool to see that he's just doing that single note. And your turnaround is going to be a big bar chord E, stinging up to C and back to B. That's official musical notation, by the way. All right, and then we're into our guitar solo. Guitar solo is like E minor pentatonic rock 101. Right up here on the 12th fret. It's right there in that spot, and it's just going to rip into it with your classic sort of bend up on the G string, you know, Chuck Berry style, right? And he sort of builds it as he goes. Like the way I sort of hear it, it's like a bend, and you sort of pick the B string at 12, and then the E string at 12. Like I sort of think it's that. And then it sort of bleeds into the double stop. Yeah. And then he increases the speed of or he double times the bend. Right? So instead of, it goes from. It just builds, right? And then he gets out of it by just going up to your E note. Right? So that's grabbing 15 on the first string and bending up. And then bending up from 15 on the B string. And then the same pattern, bending on the 3rd to 2nd string. Right, so that's what I meant. Like everything opening that solo is right here. And then he goes all the way down to your open. So that's all been minor. This now is going to be a little major lick. You just open B string, hammer on the 2nd fret of the B string, and then play the open E string. All day long, right? And you close it out. He closes it out with, just sort of bringing the room down off of this sort of E7 first position blues riff. Yep. So we all sort of know that. It's still E minor pentatonic, just down here on the first position, right? Sliding up 2 to 4 on your 3rd string. Grab the D note, the 3rd fret B. Then 4 to 2, slide down. Open. 2nd fret, D string. And it's a call and response, right? He does that. And the harmonica goes, then he does, harmonica, and then Robbie closes it out with, right? So it's just, you can play that in a couple places. Since you're already down here, you can grab 5th fret, 1st string, give it one of those, or you can do the bend up here off of this E minor shape on the 2nd and 3rd string, right? All right, so that whole solo. Then we move into our last verse, and everything is brought down. Great thing about Doors music for me is they just really show their musicianship when they're playing together, where they give space for whoever's going to have the spotlight moment, right? So if Ray's going to have a keyboard spotlight in the song, like everybody sort of backs off, gives him space, goes with the energy he creates. And that's what happens here. Like Robbie sort of brought it down. The call and response. Energy is sort of brought down. This is where Jim goes into his sort of scat or improvised vocal, non-lyrical vocal. And Robbie just plays very minimally. He's just doing that during that first, roll, 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 roll through my soul. And all the made-up words. And then when it moves to the second part, where Jim picks up the energy, woke up this morning and got myself a beer, he goes right back to the... that he did in the second verse. Just brings the energy back up. Right? Runs through that whole sequence again. Future's uncertain and the end is always near. And then your outro on the turnaround. So instead of just doing your... right, we're going to actually go chromatic all the way up from a B to the 11th fret, to the E flat. Right, on your guitar, you take it that far. Everybody else hits the E note after that. Robbie closes it out with this solo. Love that. Just basic, again, E minor pentatonic, 101. And then the stabs at the end there is part of an E chord to a D chord. You're sort of creating an E7th feel, E dominant 7th feel. Two places you can play that. It's a 2-string thing that you're hearing on guitar. The 3rd and 2nd string on 9 to 7 is one way you can play this. Or if you want to have a little bit fatter sound to your strings, to the tone, you can do it on 3rd and 4th string. That little part of an E chord, right? On 14 and 13. So you're sort of part of an E, part of a D, or here. Whoops. Right? So all together. Or. All right. That was Roadhouse Blues by The Doors. I hope you learned something new today. If you like what you saw and you haven't done so yet, click subscribe. Ring the bell. Bell will let you know when I drop new content. I do it every single week. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this. And if there's another lesson you want me to do something similar on, let me know what that song is too. And until next week, take care, everybody.